Surprise! The UAP Disclosure Act is meeting serious resistance on the Hill. So it's already been approved by the Senate, and now it went to the House of Representatives, and it is under attack. So you can watch in real time as this definitely not corrupt system tries to defend itself. If you stick around, you'll see very clearly why this is meeting serious opposition in the House of Representatives and not the Senate. It comes down to specifically money and how much it costs to get reelected, if you can guess.
Chris Lado, welcome to Lado Files.
From Christopher Mellon, November 25th. Unfortunately, my understanding is that the Schumer-Rounds amendment is poised to be shot down on Monday by Republican leadership on the House Armed Services Committee. This is the last opportunity for interested constituents to make their voice heard on this issue. And then he lists the actual Armed Services 118th Congress. Chris continues, I'm loath to make partisan distinctions when discussing this topic, but in this case, it just is what it is. That said, it seems to be generally less of a partisan issue and more of an issue with a select few Republicans leading this particular committee. So this is the Armed Services Committee. Basically, the House has special committees where they hire people from each party, right? Never mind the independents, right? We're gonna have to be from these parties, Republican or Democrat, to be on these committees. And that's how they actually decide where the money will go for the armed services. They determine that we are being defended adequately and that money is being sent to the right locations. If you can imagine, if I was a defense contractor concerned about government contracts, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars go to defense contractors each year. So they'd be pretty concerned about it. You can imagine where most of my money would go, my legal money that can just be sent to these committee members, right? 18 of 20 Armed Services Committee members get all the defense money. Okay, it all goes to basically 18 people that are on this short list. Okay, and these are the people that have the security clearances, right? So once you're on these committees, then you're given the security clearances. So all those Congress people not on this list, right, that you're not seeing basically on the Armed Services Committee, from my understanding, they don't have access, right? All those other Congress people, it's 435 Congress members. They don't have access. They don't have top secret clearances or need to know, right? That's just this group of people possibly have a need to know, right? Mike Gallagher should be able to go and look. He should have a top secret clearance and have all this activity, but does he? This is an article from the debrief by Micah Hanks, November 27th, 2023. UAP Disclosure Act receives pushback from lawmakers on Capitol Hill as bipartisan fight for transparency continues. You notice here, it's not just lawmakers, it is specific Republican lawmakers, as Christopher Mellon said. He didn't want to say it, but that's the truth, right? A bipartisan measure aiming to disclose U.S. government records related to UFOs has come under fire from top politicians in Washington. Not just top politicians, certain Republican members who received the most money from defense contractors. We should put that right there. As advocates continue working against time to save the imperiled transparency effort, the debrief has learned. Imperiled transparency effort, like everything was going full speed until last week, right? And my question is, what happened to the derailed transparency effort? Everything was going great until last Friday, essentially last Thursday, till this tweet from Christopher Mellon. And now all of a sudden it's meeting serious opposition in the House of Representatives. Why did it have no problems, right? Why did this bill, the UAP Disclosure Act, just fly through the Senate? No issues, right? The Senate has already approved this. Now it's just for the House, but it's meeting serious opposition. And in this article from the debrief, Micah Hanks says political leadership. It's not just political leadership, but it's those people that receive the most money from defense sector companies. If you stick around, you'll see very clearly why this is meeting serious opposition in the House of Representatives and not the Senate. It comes down to specifically money and how much it costs to get reelected. Earlier this year, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer united with Senator Mike Rounds, so Republican and Democrat, there you go, they introduced a 64-page proposal called the UAP Disclosure Act. It's amazing blockbuster legislation to bring about the disclosure of official information on what the U.S. government now calls unidentified anomalous phenomena. If you want more info on that blockbuster act, I went through line by line in the previous video and covered everything on the UAP Disclosure Act. Also, David Grush, in his recent interview with Joe Rogan, he names basically the people I'm going to name in this video as well, the Mikes. So Mike Turner and Mike Rogers, he names them as serious opposition. Dave says he's going to get coal in their stockings. They're going to get coal. The two Mikes. So check out those two videos for more information. Dubbed the UAP Disclosure Act of 2023, UAPDA, the proposal was cut from the same mold of an earlier law in 1992, which outlined the disclosure of records related to the JFK assassination. They're modeling after this very successful supposed JFK records release, right? But that was from 1992. So in 1992, the Congress of 1992 had the guts and the gall and the wherewithal to make this blockbuster legislation, right? But here we are over, what is that, 31 years later? 31 years later. 31 years later. And we still don't have the JFK files released. We still don't have the JFK files released. The government still hasn't released it, right? They were supposed to release all of their files, all of the JFK files by October 2017. That was in the law, right? But laws apparently don't matter to the people writing the laws because we still haven't released all of the files, right? And of the files that have been released, which I believe is many, many thousands, millions of documents that have been released, out of those, Lee Harvey Oswald's name is all over them. He's all over the CIA files, meaning he was obviously a CIA agent, right? His mother said he's a CIA agent. And now, as of this week, there is new data, scientific data showing that the single bullet theory is just impossible. So there were multiple shooters, as described by the CIA who named it, was a conspiracy, right? The Warren Commission, if you just go and do a cursory look into the JFK investigation, you'll see it's just total BS, right? Well, they're basing everything for the UAP law off of this blockbuster JFK assassination 1963, meaning I wouldn't go holding your breath, okay? Okay, the UAP Disclosure Act is part of the National Defense Authorization Act. So this is why the Armed Services Committee is voting on it, right, in the House. Basically, the Senate writes the National Defense Authorization Act. That is basically where all the money is going to go, generally for intelligence, but also armed services. So all the military, all the funding, basically the $700 or $850 billion, whatever it is now, each year, they decide where it's going to go, okay? There are some interesting points in that act. Eminent domain, okay? This idea of eminent domain in the U.S., eminent domain is a legal construct where if the government needs to put in a highway, right, they will eminent domain purchase your house, okay? And if you don't want to sell your house, guess what? You're going to sell your house to the government, right? That's called eminent domain, meaning they will take your house and they will give you whatever they consider fair value. This has happened many times in the past to put the railroads, airports, etc. So eminent domain. I was curious to find eminent domain in this document. So eminent domain would mean that any of the materials, assuming it exists, all of the spacecraft, advanced alien materials that are out in contractor hands, right? So Dave Grush named Lockheed Martin and the CIA. That was from Harry Reid. So he quoted Harry Reid saying that the materials are at least at Lockheed Martin and the CIA has these materials, right? So the eminent domain, what that would do is now all of a sudden the government owns those materials, meaning Lockheed Martin cannot secretly hold it. So what it looks like to me is the senators, the Congress, are on the understanding that there is all this advanced alien material out there, but it is squirreled away in these organizations, these secret organizations, and they are not telling the Congress people. They're not telling the Congress people or the constitutional government, as Stephen Greer refers to it, and I believe that's correct. They are not giving them the information, right? So eminent domain would mean they pull this. Still, my own point on that for eminent domain is the government is the ones we are concerned about, right? All the laws are aimed at the people. Governments, in my personal view, should be looking squarely at themselves, and how they govern. So eminent domain, whereby the U.S. government could effectively confiscate and appropriate any UAP technologies that are revealed to exist, as well as the creation of Presidential Records Review Board, similar to the one outlined in the 1992 law. I think it's this creation of a civilian review board that has also been a sticking point. So in July, right, the Senate version of the bill was approved with an 86-11 vote, so overwhelmingly approved, following a House vote that approved its version by just 219 to 210. Everything was going well. However, late last week, it was learned that Representatives Mike Turner and Mike Rogers were ramping up efforts to eliminate or significantly change the wording in the UAP Disclosure Act during negotiations in the NDAA conference. Amazing. The two developments reported by Liberation Times last week indicated that Turner, chair of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, well, surprise, he's chair of the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, and Rogers, the chair of the House Armed Services Committee, surprise, had leveraged support from Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, again a Republican, and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, another Republican, a move which cast doubts over whether the UAP Disclosure Act would make its way into the final version of the NDAA signed into law by President Biden. So look at that, man. Amazing. So it's all the leaders in the House. All the leaders in the House. You have your House Intelligence, right? Chair of the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. So these guys should be read in. And you have your chair of the House of the Armed Services Committee, another powerful committee. So Committee on Intelligence and Committee on Armed Services. And then who else do you need really to sink the knife in? Is the Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and the Speaker of the House. Look at that. So this is a total partisan effort. Okay. This is a partisan effort. It may be a bipartisan bill, but you're seeing right here, this is a single partisan effort to try and kill it. The single partisan effort to try and kill it. And we'll look at why it's trying to be killed right now. This is a great website. It's called opensecrets.org. You can go there, and here we have election trends. So from here, what you're going to find is, this is why. Look at this. Okay, this is your election costs, right? To win. Average house winner spending. And we're going to look at loser, and it is a big difference. Okay, average house. So this is the House of Representatives from 1990 to 2022. Average house winner spending. So House of Representatives from 1990 to 2022. 1990, it was around, so it was $407,000. Then we get to 2000, it doubled, right? So it doubled to $2,840,000. And we go through 2008, no issues. 2016 had doubled again, $1.5 million. This is to win a House of Representatives seat. Remember that. Okay. And then from 2016 to now 2022, you have another doubling. Okay. That's a 4-year doubling to $3 million, almost $3 million to win a House seat. Okay. To win a House seat. The loser spent around $800,000, I believe. So much, much less. So winners spent almost $3 million on average to win a House seat. Okay, that's House of Representatives. Now, if we talk about the Senate, let's look at the Senate here. Average Senate winner now from 1990 to 2022. So here we go. If you have in 1990, it was almost $4 million. $4 million. So 10 times to win actually in the House. And now if we go to 2000, it had basically almost doubled. So it had doubled to $7.3 million. Okay. And then if we go now to 2016, it had almost doubled again, a little bit less than a doubling to $12 million. Okay. And here is the big jump in just 4 years from 2016 to 2020. Now it's $27 million, $27 million for the winner of a Senate race, winning of a Senate race. So the simple reason on why you're meeting issues, serious setbacks in the House of Representatives is because these guys can be bought much easier, much easier and cheaper, right? In order to really buy a senator, you in 2020, you would have had to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? In order to buy that senator, in order to make a difference so that he actually answers your phone calls. But now if you go to the House now, as we'll see here, old Mr. Mike Rogers and Mike Turner, they're both in the top 5 receivers of funds. Top 5 receivers of funds, meaning you can buy these guys. If you're a defense contractor, if I was a defense contractor and I was worried about money and bang for buck, which I can guarantee you they are worried about, all of my money would be going to the key House of Representatives players. Those people, those incumbents who I know I can count on to vote in my way. And I'm just going to keep pumping them money. And then when I'm concerned about a certain bill getting pushed through, like that UAP Disclosure Act bill, we know it's coming. It's passed through the Senate. Now I'm going to start talking. I'm going to start talking to those members in Congress, those key members. I'm going to start building a coalition, a little coalition, try and counter this UAP Disclosure Act. So who am I going to get? I'm going to go with Mike Rogers. So let's look at Mike Rogers, representative from Alabama, right? Alabama, top contributor, top industry. He got almost $300,000 just in that year, right? Just in those years. almost $300,000. And we saw that's almost 10% of what it requires to actually win. Top contributor, look at that. Individual contributor, Lockheed Martin. Yeah, Lockheed Martin really cares about Mike Rogers, his Alabama congressional seat. They really care about that. Yeah, they do. And let's look here. Leadership. So leadership pack, American Security Pack. I wonder if any defense industry partners are a part of the American Security Pack. Yeah, and they gave $2.2 million. Oh, he spent $1.6 million, and he has still another $1 million in his war chest, right? And remember, this is from 2022. Let's look at this. Oh, top contributors. There we go. Lockheed Martin, Leidos. Oh, General Dynamics, L3, General Atomics. Where's Raytheon? I mean, look at this. Miscellaneous defense. So there's $250,000, $300,000. Defense Aerospace. Yeah, that's a good company. $140,000. Now we have just general lobbyists, 115, and then defense electronics. Okay, so look at this. I mean, every year, so old Mike Rogers, and he's been in Congress for over 20 years, right? Over 20 years. This is the idea from the Constitution that it's just going to be your normal man or woman's just going to go down to Congress, represent their local constituents, and then go back home, right? Go back to their job. Yeah, not the case, guys. Now you're in career politicians. We have 21 years, and now every year he's made at least $800,000. Look at that, 1.6 million then. Oh, he needed 2.12 million there. But now in these non-campaign years, right? He's just building up that war chest. Look, he's just building it up. $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, just raised by legal bribery. Legal bribery. That is what it is, corruption. And then here's his campaign contributions. Excellent. So Micah Hanks doesn't mention them by name or by party, but he does show it here, right? So Armed Services Committee, this is from Open Secrets. I've showed the same exact chart 3 months ago in a video called Follow the Money. I named Mike Rogers and Mike Turner by name then. And surprise, this is what we're seeing now. That was 3 months ago. Think about that. 12 of the top 20 recipients of defense sector funds in 2022 were in leadership roles on the committee. Think about that. Unbelievable. Mike Rogers here, way more than other people. Look at it, 325,000. Second is another Republican from Virginia. Surprise, 228,000. I wonder what Virginia, if they have a lot of defense sector in that area. And then we have Adam Smith, the first Democrat. Then we have in Virginia. I wonder if there's any defense sector in Virginia. And then we have Michael Turner. Okay, so here's your right there in the top 5. You have Mike Turner leading the Intelligence Committee, and you have Mike Rogers leading the Armed Services Committee. And surprise, those guys are both against the UAP Disclosure Act. I mean, this is just obvious corruption here, guys. Just obvious corruption. This is your boy, Mike Turner. Look, again, he's been in there for over 20 years. I think 20 years should be a limit. We should put a limit, 20 years on any congressman. I think it should be even less, probably 12 would be more than enough. Okay, miscellaneous defense, again, 62,000. Wright-Patterson is the main base where they flew the Roswell materials. It is a huge material command headquarters. Most likely under Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is where they're hiding a large amount of these materials, if I had to guess. So that whole local area is just going to be crawling with all of these groups. Okay, so raised $404,000. But he doesn't have that much money, right? Look at that, cash on hand. He only has $500,000. So he's going to have issues. He's got to raise another $3 million. Mike Turner's got to get to work talking to these people. Miscellaneous defense, top industries. Again, here it is. Every year he's making almost 800,000. Okay, 2024, got enough. But again, these guys are making over almost $1 million each year just in campaign contributions, right? And what do you think is going to happen when they need those campaign contributions kind of called in, as is just getting called in now? Getting called in now. And what is this, guys? Nobody expects the U.S. Constitution. Okay, so this is the Constitution right here. I think more people should actually look at it and read it. So we're going to go through just a little key points here and highlight. Okay, we the people of the United States. I just want to say this: we the people. It doesn't say organizations, defense contract organizations. Like Lockheed Martin is not a people. Okay, Lockheed Martin's not a people. So it says right here, we the people. in order to form a more perfect union, meaning we're not perfect, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America. So this is actually the Constitution. It's not that long, as you'll see. These are all the articles right here, but we'll just go through a couple key points. So the first article, Article 1, is really defines the Congress. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in the Congress, which is composed of a Senate and a House of Representatives. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members chosen every second year by the people of the states. Okay, not the defense organizations, not the companies, not the corporations. It says right here, by the people. Okay, and the electors in each state shall have the qualifications requisite for electors. You actually have to be 25 years old in the House. Right? It's 33 in the Senate. And you have to be an inhabitant of the state in which you shall be chosen. That's pretty much it. And here we go. The numbers of people shall be determined by adding the whole number of free persons. Yeah, that's right. We forgot about slavery then, right? That sucks. Excluding Indians not taxed 3/5 of all other persons. Look at that, 3/5 of all other persons. So we do include no mention again of corporations, etc. What's interesting is the House has the sole power of impeachment. That was interesting. Now, the Senate of the United States, composed of 2 senators from each state in the Constitution, is actually chosen by the legislatures thereof, the legislature. And the idea of this is for 6 years. That's more the professional politicians, right? Is in the Senate. Shouldn't be in our House. And here you have to be 33 years and 9 years of a citizen of the United States. So you could be born somewhere else. So what's interesting is when you are impeached, judgments of impeachment, they remove you from office and disqualify you to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States. So I don't understand if Trump has been impeached, how he's able, according to the Constitution, to run again. We'll see how that works, but apparently they can do whatever they want. Okay, and here's probably the biggest problem. And this is why, unfortunately, I don't think much of this is going to change. Because here is the problem. Each house shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of its own members. So what does that mean? It means, unfortunately, who is the only one that can really change this, that could bring money out of politics, will be the House. They would have to vote to change their own laws. And when it talks about how they are paid, the senators and representatives shall receive a compensation for their services to be ascertained by law. And they decide how much they are paid, right? They could even pay themselves more. But are they going to say you can't take campaign contributions? Highly doubtful. Section 8 talks about the president basically needs to sign all of your bills, or with a 2/3, they can overrule them. Section 8 here really goes off what the Congress is supposed to do. Section 10, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, etc. No state shall lay any imposts or duties on imports or exports. No state shall, without the consent of Congress, lay any duty or tonnage, keep troops in time of peace, etc. Okay, so all in the states. That was Article 1. It's really all on the Congress. Okay, if you look there, so pretty long. If we go to Article 2 now, this is the president, and that's it. That's it for the president. And now Article 3, that's it for the whole judicial branch. This is a judicial branch. I mean, that is it, right? And now we get into other things. How it's paid, Article 4, Article 5, look at this. The Congress, when 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution. And I think that's what it would mean. It would require an amendment to the Constitution saying that we cannot take money, cannot be legally made for bribes or lobbying, as it's called, but I would call it legal bribery. Article 6 goes to all debts, contracted engagements, treaties, etc. Senators and representatives, as well as members of legislatures, judicial offices, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, right? To support this Constitution, but no religious text shall be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. And then finally, Article 7 just says this is ratified, signed by these guys. And that's it, man. So it doesn't say anything about campaign contributions. It doesn't say anything about corporations. It doesn't say anything about government organizations paying all of our Congress people. If you notice that, it just doesn't even mention it. And yet, here we are today. And now, here's the main issue. This is what it takes, right? $400,000 to win in 1990. Now you want to win? You want to go to Congress? $2.8 million, right? Oh, you want to go to Senate? You want to be a senator? It's $4 million in 1990 just to win, to even become a senator, $27 million. Oh, we're going to elect the greatest guy, the best person, the best woman, best man, woman. No, you're going to elect the people that have the money, because those are the only two options you are going to get. That's how they're limiting it, right? This is not a democracy if your only two options are a turd or a douche. Those are your only two options. And who chooses those? Who chooses the turd or the douche that's actually going to be on the ballot? Based on money. Look at this. Average winner spent in the House, $2.8 million. Average looter spent $800,000. Loser spent $800,000. Winner spent $2.8 million. That is the difference right there. That is the difference. Totally the difference. Some people spent $28 million. Look at this. $180 million in Georgia. Average winner. Average loser. Just to lose in the Senate, you need $13.5 million. Meaning just to even get on the ballot to have a reasonable chance of losing, you need $13.5 million. And then guess who wins? The people who wins are the ones who double the spending of their opponents. If you can double the spending of your opponent based on these statistics, you have a much higher chance of winning. There is a chance. If you can get $150,000, the least expensive winning campaign in the House. In the House. Look at that. It takes at least the price of a cheap house just to win the best man or woman going to Congress as written in the Constitution, like we just saw. It didn't say who can raise the most money. All right. It's crazy. The other thing is, look at this. Incumbents. Number of incumbents seeking re-election. Okay, this last cycle in the Senate was 28 incumbents. Guess how many of those incumbents won? 28 of them. 28 of them. And look at this, 384 incumbents in the House. That's a lot, right? 2/3 more going up. Now 359. What is it? Over 90%? 90% of incumbents win. Okay, so all you have to do is get your guy in there, or just look for the right guys, right? And I think that's what they did, because Mike Rogers, he was on the Armed Services Committee, but he wasn't the chair. So you can just give money to incumbents. He's been in there 21 years. Think of the community in Alabama. Think of the argument he makes for the community in Alabama. You're not going to pull him out of the Congress. Look how much power he's bringing to Alabama. Look how many jobs he's bringing to Alabama in the name of defense contracting jobs. I bet you can write that down. You can trace the money all the way around. The unfortunate part is this comes from the taxpayer. Where does all this money initially come from? Is the taxpayer. This money. If it's coming from the defense contractors, they were paid in tax dollars. They were paid in tax dollars. You see how this cycle continues? Can it be broken? It would have to be an amendment to the Constitution. Yes, it is depressing, but knowing really is half the battle. And that's what we're learning. We're just learning now. We have the actual overview of everything that's happening, right? And that makes it so obvious. If you can just step back and look at the big picture, often things become very, very obvious. There is something you can do right now. This is from Americans for Safe Aerospace, Ryan Graves' program. He said a source close to the negotiations tells us the conference is wrapping up. The outcome of the UAP Disclosure Act is uncertain. They're sending letters to Senators Round and McConnell this morning expressing support. You can call. I called as well. Here's the number right here. This is Senator Round's number. I talked to the aide and Senator McConnell. I couldn't get through to his office, but this is all I said. My name is Chris Lato. I'm calling to ask Senator Rounds to support the UAP Disclosure Act. They waited. And I said, I think we need a civilian board. I don't trust the military industrial complex. I feel like they've been lying to us, and we need more transparency. That's it. I called. Will it make a difference? I don't know, but he said a lot of people are calling. And you look here, 1.2 million views. So I would encourage any Americans to call. I think we can all agree that this is not good for democracy, right? I think we can all agree that this is not good for democracy. You shouldn't have corporations, especially corporations whose sole job is to kill people, right? And I get it. I did it for 20 years. I was an F-16 pilot for 18 years. I know how this stuff works, but the job is to actually kill people, right? It is sanctioned murder. And I know you guys don't see it, right? But a bomb blowing up a house is just as violent as running in and shooting everyone. It really is, right? If everyone in that house dies, what is the difference at the end of the day? Your intention was still to blow that up. Maybe it wasn't to blow that person up, but that's what happened. Okay, so dropping bombs and all this does really affect the world, right? And when you kill someone out there in the name of American interests, guess what happens? You're going to create an enemy. So either way, this is not good for society. I think we can all agree this is not good for a democratic society. We don't live in an oligarchy. We just read through the Constitution there. This is not an oligarchy. It said we the people. It did not say we the corporations, we the defense corporations, we big pharma. It doesn't say that. It says we the people. So we'll see if we can change it, but at least we know, right? And knowing is half the battle. If you did like this, please hit the like button, share it to get this information out. The more we know, the better it will be. It's really going to come from the people on the ground. And in this case, I would vote for a Republican if they supported this. I would vote for a Democrat if they supported UAP transparency. I would vote for an independent. And I would vote against anyone who doesn't agree with those transparency beliefs. If you want to get more content, support the channel, go to patreon.com/Chris Lato, or you can sign up to be a YouTube member here. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as well. Lato Files taking over the internet. We also have audio podcasts now, so this will be on audio on your favorite podcasting network or program, whatever it's called. Thanks for being here. I think we are making slow progress, but man, it's going to be an uphill battle. Have a great day. Peace.